Hi there, Maureen here, founder of the Mindsight Academy, neuro coach to executives, leaders, entrepreneurs, and a neuro leadership trainer using insights from neuroscience to help you deliver results by learning to work smarter, be in control of your brain, manage yours and other people's emotions, change behaviors, flourish, and exceed expectations. I am so pleased to be back here with another episode of Lead to Excel podcast. If you haven't already subscribed to this podcast, do remember to subscribe wherever you listen to it. Without wasting any more time, grab your drink, whatever that might be, put your feet up and listen in. So welcome again to another episode of Lead to Excel podcast. And today I am absolutely so excited that I have Erin with us today. Erin talks a lot about things that I'm so passionate about in terms of the mindset and and money actually, which we're going to be talking a lot of today. So Erin Newman is a speaker and a writer and also a money mindset coach. So welcome, Erin, to Lead to Excel podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, Maureen. When you introduced yourself at another event, I was thinking, oh, that is somebody I need to get to know because she does some really cool work. I could tell from what you were talking about. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks so much for being here. Honestly, so Erin, I will let you introduce yourself and you could tell us a bit about what you do, and then we'll go into it.
Sure, great. So I'm Erin Newman, and I am a mindset and aligned business coach for women entrepreneurs. I help women business owners to scale to six figures and beyond in a way that feels really good for them. So by following their soul in their business and really a lot of the work we do is probably kind of similar to what you do, Maureen, in releasing all those subconscious blocks and those things that keep us stuck. So we work a lot around that, especially in the area of money mindset. And I think that one is going to be really cool for your leaders to kind of dive into today because it comes up in all areas of our lives, right? It comes up when we are moving into a new career, a new pathway, or even in our current careers when we don't ask for the raise or we, don't value the work that we're doing as much as we could. And I think, and I'm sure this comes up in your work too. For me, what I always see is that the roots of those money blocks come from childhood. They come from our childhood stories and beliefs and patterns and both from our families and from society, we get these messages about money and wealth and income and those things get really packed in there, and our job is to really unravel those and unpack those so that people can move past them, because when you bring it to the conscious forefront, you're able to really see it for what it is and say, okay, I don't want to have that in my field anymore. I don't want to have that in my energy anymore. I'm going to choose something else. I'm going to choose a different belief system now. That's the work I do. And like I said, I think we've definitely got some similarities there. So I'm excited to explore what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, what you've just mentioned, I was about to actually ask you, what do you find is usually the root cause of these problems? But you kind of went right into it, which is absolutely true. It's a lot of it is picked up in childhood, from cultures, from parents and all that. So in terms of the ladies or women you work with, do you find that they know that they've got this block, or do they? How does it unravel when they come to you? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's a range. I mean, sometimes people really, really know that they have these big blocks and sometimes they don't. And what I say is we all have blocks, we all of us, because when you think about expanding to that next level of income or wealth or however you want to call it, that's when those old beliefs show their heads. right? And sometimes people really know what they are. They know their old belief structures. They know that those are, not something they want to carry around anymore. But sometimes people have never looked into them at all, and they don't even know that they're there. But the most common ones are things like, I have to work really hard to make money. Making money has to be a lot of effort. Wealth is not for me, right? Well, a lot of us have these beliefs that the person who is wealthy, the person who has money, the person who is rich is a certain kind of person. And we think sometimes that's okay for them, but it's not okay for me. That's, it's not possible for me to be in that place. And so again, some people are really conscious of them and some people aren't. But either way, we all have blocks, because when you start thinking about that next level of growth, that's when the blocks are going to come up. So even if you're totally cool where you're at, right? Like I make, X, whatever I make every month, right? Great. I'm doing good. I'm cool. I'm chilling. But then when you start thinking about doubling it or tripling it, that's when the blocks will show up. That's when you can really get into, what is it that I believe needs to happen in order to get there? Or what is it I believe about myself that needs to change, right? And again, it's just a belief, not a reality, that something has to change, right? Because you and I both know that you can get wherever you want to be just by being the person you are today. But I think it's really interesting to pull up. And the question I always pose to people when I do a workshop is, what's your income goal? What's your really, really big income goal? And then why don't you deserve to be there? Like, what is it that you believe has to happen in order for you to get there? And that's when the blocks will show up. It's a good way of kind of really tuning into, what do I believe about myself is not ready for that next level of income? And again, it's just a belief. We can unravel it and say, that doesn't have to be true. You don't have to be more organized. You don't have to be more structured. You don't have to be prettier, thinner, all the myriad of things that we believe have to be true in order to get to that next level. So to answer your question, yes and no. Sometimes people really know that they've got some stuff and sometimes they really don't. But either way, we can get into it. So
no, that's awesome. And I love the fact that you touched on belief, because I find in the work that I do, which is more from the brain neuroscience aspect, is that these beliefs, like you said, get formed when people are, when they're from childhood, really. And a lot of times, the behaviors that then becomes evident are really due to those beliefs. And until you really become aware of what those beliefs are, they'll keep driving that particular behavior pattern. And in fact, that was why when I saw what you did, I got really excited, because for women in particular, it's something that is so needed, because we are the ones a lot of times who hold on to those beliefs or kind of walk with them and don't even realize them, or do realize them, but just don't know what to do about them. So in terms of the work you do, how do you then help people change these beliefs?
Yeah, so I do a bunch of different things. Probably like you, we all have a bunch of different modalities. I would say the biggest modality that I use is tapping, or EFT. Do you know that word?
I know. Yes, I know what that. So if you like, explain it for those,
Sure.
for the benefits of those that don't.
Yeah. So I like to think of it as a somatic way of processing through trauma. But it doesn't have to be, big T trauma, abuse. It can be, but it can also be just the small traumas of our childhood. Things like seeing your parents working really, really hard for their paycheck, right? Like that gets encoded in our bodies. And so tapping is a way of literally tapping on these acupressure points in your body as you talk through. And sometimes you don't even have to talk if it's too hard to talk. As you talk through memories, beliefs, patterns, and we start with whatever's most present for you. So if you come in the door and you say, X and Y, Z is happening in my business. I don't feel like I'm getting enough clients. I don't feel like I'm moving fast enough. That's where we start. And we just start slowly unpacking that. Where did that come from? Where did that belief system come from? You have to work really hard, that you have to, kill it to make money or whatever. And we'll just tap through that until hopefully we can get to the root, those root memories, those root causes, those root beliefs about what's going on in your life right now. And I think what you named is so powerful and important too, because we know that our subconscious is running us. We know that those subconscious patterns are creating the behaviors, like you just said, the behaviors that we do right now. You can be, I'm 42 years old, and things from my childhood are still running me, right? They're still creating these patterns, like as an example, I was on vacation this last week. We went skiing, and I was every morning journaling around being allowed to go on vacation and still have a business. And so it was these old patterns of you have to work really hard and you have to work hard all the time. And it's not consciously, I know I can take a vacation, right?
Yeah.
Like we all know that. Of course you get to take a vacation. Of course you're allowed, right? Like I can tell you those things, but on a subconscious level, what was running me was, oh no, you have to work hard all the time. If you really want to make money, if you want to hit your income goals, you got to work hard all the time. You don't deserve a vacation. Who are you to have a vacation, right? Who are you to enjoy this while other people are suffering right now? And those are those old patterns that run us and that create those behaviors in our business where we don't take the time off. We don't take the time for self-care. We don't do the things that we know we could be doing or should be doing in our lives and our businesses. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but basically that our subconscious is still creating, from these old childhood patterns. Yeah.
That you see now. Yeah, it's I'm going to come back to tapping in a second.
Yeah.
In terms of you talked about the subconscious, and I kind of feel let's just pick up on that a bit because like you said, the subconscious is what drives about 90% of our behavior of what we do is really from the subconscious. And a lot of these patterns are really embedded in the subconscious so that unless we actually recognize what they are and start changing them, they will remain there. And a typical example is what you've just described, where you go on holiday and then you're still feeling guilty because the subconscious, as far as it knows, that is the default. That's what has already been embedded in the brain from, what our society, from growing up. That's what we know. Work hard, work hard, work hard. And once you then do something different, it keeps popping up to remind you that this is the status quo. This is what you should be doing. You should be working, not here. And then it brings up all those things, like you said, now. In fact, another example is that when for us that are coaches working in this period of pandemic, what I've had a lot is people telling me, but I feel guilty charging. How can I charge people in a pandemic? But the fact is that, and it's all those patterns of guilt that the subconscious keeps throwing up. And unless we are aware of them, it would then stop us from actually doing what we want to do. And one of the areas I want us to kind of come back to relating to this is the tapping. How does tapping, because I know what it is, but I don't know, I've never really researched it, I must confess. But how does it actually then change the pattern, or how long does it take for people to start noticing a change? I know that can be very depending on people, but on average, how does it work and what does it actually do and how long for?
Yeah. It's funny. I got asked this question the other day, and so it takes one session and a lifetime, because the work is always there. I mean, I think we can, especially if somebody is really open, right? If somebody who has done therapy in the past, they kind of are very self-aware. They're into personal development. They like this work. They like digging deep, right? If we can jump into the deep end in the first session, you can clear up one of those blocks in one session. And I think the healing is always ongoing. I think there's always room. I mean, I do this work with my coaches, with my teachers, with my mentors, with the people that I hire. I mean, it's, even though I know it really, really well, I know when it's coming up, and I still do this work with people because it's always ongoing, it's always unfolding. And again, for all of us, we're always expanding into something new. So that's the place where the old stuff's going to come up again, and it might be gentler and softer and easier to work through. What I think of my work is that we're not necessarily going to clear every block so that you never have another doubt, you never have another fear, you never have another block come up. But we are going to make sure that bounce back time is faster, so the time between you seeing that behavior pattern and the time it takes for you to get back into aligned action, doing the things you're meant to be doing, is much faster. You don't spin your wheels as much. You're not staying in those patterns of self-sabotage and procrastination and worrying and doubt and fear and fogginess, right? Like sometimes people say, oh, well, I'm just not really clear on what I'm supposed to be doing. And I always think we do know. It's just fear is usually blocking us, because the things we're supposed to be doing are things that put us out there into the world a little bit more. And so my work, like I said, I feel like is not in, okay, you never have another block again. It's how fast do you come back into center? How fast do you come back into alignment so that you can get out there and do the things that you really know you need to be doing in your work and your business? So, and to answer your question about tapping, I think for me, the way I always think of it is it's moving the energy around things that you probably haven't ever named before, things that are just scary to even say out loud, right? Like when we're talking about, these old childhood beliefs, first, like you said, we don't even know that they're there most of the time, but then we probably haven't even named them out loud. So we're actually naming them. And at the same time, we're able to process it in a really gentle, energetic way too. Like, this is what's going on. This is what's true. And I'm now able to release it from my body. It doesn't have to be stuck there anymore. And you can actually physically kind of see it process for people. When we've done a couple rounds of tapping together on a specific subject, you can just kind of see their energy change, their body posture changes, and you can see that it's sort of dissipated or left their energy.
Yeah, no, this is really exciting actually, because as you're speaking, I was thinking, because every time I talk to coaches in particular about what they do, I'm processing it in terms of the brain. Okay, so what's actually going on in the brain when this is?
I would love to hear that. Yeah.
And I'm finding, because I was listening to you in terms of the tapping, and I'm going, okay, this makes sense a lot, because when you have a wiring, a neural path wiring, a connection, that connection has been created, and that's what creates the belief. So when you're tapping, in essence, what you're doing is creating a new pathway. So as you're repeating this new or reframed word or reframed belief you want to have, what it's doing is creating new pathways. And as you're doing that, the subconscious brain is picking that up, it's wiring it. And yes, I can see how doing that, someone would then actually have a different posture and believe it and get excited about it. Because one thing that I always say is the brain and body are so closely linked. Yep. And once you start having those positive talks or reframing what you actually want, you're creating a new belief for yourself. And the more you repeat it, the more it becomes embedded. And what you said, I love the way you answered that when I asked you how long, and you said it could be instant, but a lifetime. And that is so true, because you have to keep being aware and picking up on those triggers or picking up on those triggers or negatives when they happen, and you're able to change them quite quickly. Right. And that's the difference between someone that doesn't know, that is not aware. Right. So, because I get that question a lot, how long? And the fact is that you've got to constantly be aware. Now, in the brain, we know the fact that when you don't use a particular pathway for a while, it could disintegrate. Some would, but some might just not. They might just be there. If they've been there for a long time. But then in certain situations, they could come up, just like you described when you're on holiday and it popped up again. But it's being able to capture it quite quickly and change it. And I find that that is why it's so important to have coaches, for even for us, to really help us, or for us to be aware. So no, that's really fascinating. Actually, I've seen tapping done, but never really done it myself. But I can see the principle behind it. So can you just tell us quickly, in terms of the work you do with in terms of money, because I want us to really focus on money a lot, because it's the biggest area that challenges a lot of women. So if you just kind of go a bit deeper into what you find is, the challenges women have, and, what examples of what you've come across a lot, and how you've actually helped people make that shift.
Yeah, yeah. And I really want to underline what you just said too, that it's especially for women. And I think also I notice, and hear from my women of color clients and friends that I work with, that there's even an added burden there of not feeling deserving, not feeling like you're able to claim that level of income, right? That's not for me, that's for somebody else, right? And, I think we women have this belief that well, we have many, but there's still a lot there around the man is supposed to take care of me. The man is supposed to earn more than me. I'm not supposed to earn more than my husband or my spouse or my partner. So we have all of that going on. And then we just have this sort of standard Western beliefs of, I'm a failure, I'm not successful, if I'm not earning enough, if I'm not working hard enough, if I'm not doing enough, then I'm a failure. That's sort of throughput is kind of there through all of it. I'm not enough in some way is a belief that I'm not sure all of us carry it, but most of us carry it. It's just, I'm not enough in order to do this big work. And I mean, I work through that for myself all the time. And so I see it for myself. I see it for my clients, that just that underlying belief of not enoughness is there. And so that's what we're always coming back to, is in some way, I'm not enough. So and that shows up in so many different ways. It shows up in all of those different patterns of behavior that I was kind of already naming, those self-sabotage behaviors. And the way that we work through that is, tapping is one of them. We also do a lot of sort of inner child work, where we're going into those older memories and really deconstructing them and healing those old memories around not being enough in some way, those old patterns, those things that our parents told us. Yesterday I was working with a client around, and this is a money pattern, about her feeling like expanding into that next level meant that she was going to be responsible for a lot more people. She was going to be responsible for their energy, responsible for their emotions. And what that came from was, growing up as a kid, she had been responsible for her mother's emotions. She had been responsible for making her mom happy, for making her mom feel safe, right? And so, and again, this was not a one session thing, because this is something we've been working on for a while, but just really unraveling those old beliefs and going into that memory and having her heal that memory so that it no longer felt like she had to be responsible for that anymore. And so that's one of those things where it comes in the door of a money belief, a money pattern, but it's really older than that. It's really deeper than that. And that's kind of what we're working on unraveling. And, I think what you named about the neural pathways is so cool and true. And, there's even different parts of tapping where we'll do some eye movement kind of things. So we're literally unlocking those old neural pathways, kind of like EMDR, I think.
Yeah.
So, like you said, reframing it so that it goes in a different pathway, and this old belief doesn't have to be true anymore. And we get to choose this one instead.
Yeah. And you've got to nurture that new one. And I love the examples you gave, because it keeps coming up a lot. And one of the ones that I come across a lot of is when people feel that, already talk themselves out of getting something because of your status. It could be because you're a woman, a Black woman, or you kind of feel, okay, what's the point? I'm not going to get it anyway. Or they won't notice me. So what's the point?
Right.
And I find that even in terms of looking for a salary raise, there's no point in asking because I'm not going to get it anyway. And I find that already is allowing those stereotypes and biases that are external to now affect us internally. And it keeps a lot of people holds a lot of people back. So honestly, Erin, thank you so much. And I think you've really touched on quite a lot in terms of how important it really is to start looking at what beliefs we have, and also knowing the fact that they can be changed. And I think money mindset is one that is just so important, because a lot of people don't believe, like you said, that they deserve it. And the fact is that we do, everyone does. And, so I really want people to know how they can find you, how you can. I know you've talked a lot about how you work one-to-one with people. Do you do any other form of, you've mentioned therapy. So if you kind of just talk through, if people want to contact you, what you could offer them.
Yeah, I have a free guide to overcoming subconscious blocks to your next level of income. So it's for entrepreneurs or career people. So it can work for either. And that's a free guide. And I'll make sure to get you the link, Maureen, for that too.
Yes, I thought I was just going onto your site because I did see it, and I'm going to pop the link in the description for anyone that wants it.
Yeah, and I can send that to you too. That's a great place to be in touch with me. And then I'm continually offering group programs around money mindset and abundance. They're usually geared toward entrepreneurs, but they could definitely work for anybody. And I'm also always happy to sort of accommodate people there too. So I do, sort of high level one-on-one work with people. But then, like I said, I also do a lot of group programs. I'm always running one. I've got one going right now, but I don't know when the podcast will come out. So it might be over by then, but there's almost always a group program going so that people can access me at that level too. So and I'm so appreciative of this, Maureen. This has been awesome. You're awesome. And I'm really happy.
I'm so pleased you could come. I'm so happy that we've actually met where we did. And so are you on Facebook?
Yes.
On Facebook.
Oh, yes.
So just mention that. I'm going to put the link in, but just say it out for people that are listening.
Yep. I have a big Facebook group called the 6-Figure Spiritualpreneurs. That's a free Facebook group. If that, if what we've been saying here today resonates with you and you're an entrepreneur, you might want to join us in there. Otherwise, there's my Facebook business page, which is Erin Newman Mindset Coach. And I'm actually Erin Newman Mindset Coach everywhere. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, you can find me under Erin Newman Mindset Coach on all the places. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to put all the links in the description.
Okay.
And great. It's really been a pleasure having you on the podcast. And I'm sure we'll do this again. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you once again for tuning in. And remember that if you haven't subscribed to this podcast, click on the button wherever you listen to it so that you don't miss an episode. And I would really appreciate you leaving a review as well, or even a comment on the podcast, or ideas of topics that you want me to talk about in future. I've got some exciting episodes coming up with more guests that you really wouldn't want to miss. So in this climate, wherever you are, do remember to keep safe, look after yourself, and I truly wish you perfect health. Stay limitless, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye for now.